Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream on this Saturday. Hopefully you all have had a great week. Um, and so here's a few updates of some of the stuff that I've been working on this past week. And some of them were kind of around the world building and some around the weapons. One of the things that I was trying to do, and I was showing it in the last stream, was trying to get like the edges of the terrain working out and not um, relying as much on, of course, using some meshes, for like cliffs and stuff, but not relying that much on that, so also kind of relying on the terrain itself. And so this is what I ended up with adjusted the material so that I can when I sculpt the terrain that I can actually have some cliffs shown, like this kind of cliff material type thing. And so now when I sculpt, and I'm also trying to use like some of those. I managed to find through like an old folder like some alpha brushes for landscape, which has some like erosion and stuff. It's not perfect, but it's pretty decent. So, I can end up with this is just kind of brunt type of, but you could potentially end up with kind of a result somewhat like this, where kind of the cliffs start going over here, and as you move closer and closer, the slope gets steeper, and the player can move past it. So it's just a little bit of a transition into like a mountain slope. And again, this is just I've tried to experiment a little bit with some like the hydro erosion and but just sculpting with the brush seems to work out pretty well. Like for example, this here is a decent example of that sculpting up and down as well. So you can get these slopes where there's some kind of rocky material and like around here as well, and just some crevices, oh, not necessarily crevices, but like these kind of like replacement for cliffs, I would say, but through the terrain, right? So you can always add like a kind of like a cliff mesh over here just to, help with that area. But once you get into, like higher areas in the world, I think, just sculpting the terrain and applying this works out. For me, it works out pretty well. Yeah, so that was one of the things that I was trying to work on. The other one is with the weapons. So namely, picking up weapons and making sure you can equip them and switch between them. So that one was took a little bit more of doing, but it actually turned out okay. So now let's go into third person. So if I pick up weapons, they get attached to the body and like that and that. So, and now, the character itself, if we were to look at him, has like the bow, the pistol, and the rifle attached to himself. So they're just like the individual actors. Now, if I jump into game mode, I did not want to take a screenshot, but let's go into first person since that's how the game is going to be. Now, if I was to equip the pistol, and the equipment animations are still there, I think I'm using the same one, which is a pretty bad one to begin with. So, equipping the pistol, unequipping, and the thing is, it just looks really weird because it's playing the exact same animation, like with the same play rate, and so that's why it just looks pretty bad. So hopefully I'm gonna be able to edit those over the weekend or next week. All right, so I was saying that, you can equip the weapon, then if I press 2, it would kind of switch to the rifle, and like I said, the animations are pretty poor. Oh, this is actually kind of interesting. Why would that be pointed at yourself, which is not right? All right, and then the bow as well, so just switching between them. Also with the bow, I've added a little bit of you've seen it last week, like the arrows. When I shoot the arrows, they stick to the enemy. Now there was a little bit of a delay that was kind of ugly. So now if you shoot um, between the reloading and the shooting, it looks a little bit more natural. So and a little bit more kind of combat-like speed. And of course, you do have that counter there to tell you how many arrows you have left. So that works. So yeah, now if I switch to the pistol, yeah, there's this little honkiness with the, like I said, I only have one pistol equip animation, which is always also pretty bad. But and in this one, just the regular ADS. And now I'm just noticing this little trouble with the rifle where it's kind of oddly placed. Oh, and I think I might have an idea why that is. So the way I was doing this with the ALS, since I'm using the ALS package, is in the um, everything is handled in this update held object. So basically, whenever I have a weapon attached, so I'm attaching all the actors as weapons, and those are all, just the weapon actor. So depending on whether the main, and actually this is not, this is I'm looking at the parent. So this is, I'm overriding the function in here. So basically what happens is, and it's still kind of spaghetti at the moment, so, but if anybody is interested, so what happens is whenever I update the held object, this is the function that comes with ALS. I'm checking to see if the weapon first is valid, so you have a main weapon attached to your hands, and if you do, then I'm gonna go ahead and check to see if it's equipped. And if it's equipped, then I'm gonna holster it. And there's also like in my system, I have it set to drop, so that way, I know that that weapon is not equipped, so it can't fire, it can't do anything. And then the attached to hand is the same that is with the ALS, basically just attaching it to the socket. In this case, it's the hold socket, which is, kind of your spine or kind of the back of the character. And once that is complete, what I'm doing is if there's a new overlay state, in this case, I have the current overlay state is the pistol, and if I switch to, say, the rifle, then it's going to be different, a different overlay state. So I'll make sure that I set that. So when I go into the switch, if it's the rifle, I'm going to go into the rifle section and do um, my attached to hand, because at this point I already have that actor attached to the character. So as you can see, I'm just making sure that I'm setting the main weapon to the rifle and then unholstering and attaching it back to the hand. And this is the trouble. I was attaching it to the bow, and this is not the right socket. So let me fix that real quick. So they're using the same socket as the pistol. There we go. And yeah, just on the main weapon, I'm calling to unholster the weapon. Basically, with that one plays each one of the weapon's specific unholstering or holstering animations. And I'm setting the stage back to equipped. And that's pretty much it as far as how I'm handling it. So let's see if now that I'm using the right socket, I'm gonna pick up some of these weapons. So pistol, rifle. Let's actually just go to the rifle. Yeah, so there we go. That works. Um, and the rifle also just kind of shoots as well. And apparently it's shooting so well that it's shooting the character, or it's shooting my your character, and that's something that I need to address. But yeah, so that's kind of how the switching between the weapon systems work, and functionally everything is there. It's just finding the proper animations for kind of the switches between these. Um, between the bow and playing this proper animation here when it holsters the bow and equips the pistol. And yeah, I mean the pistol has this really kind of honky animation right now, so it kind of works, like when you holster it, and if you press the same like one, right? So right now it's just in a default state. It's got nothing going on here. And then if you equip it, then it equips the pistol. If you press one again, it just unequips it, so it doesn't, put up another weapon. But if you do have another weapon in the inventory, which in this case, you have like the oh, that's actually kind of interesting. Like that arrow is still stuck to the bow. So maybe that's something to note that when you holster the bow, put the arrow or like kind of destroy that arrow object, that arrow actor. Okay, so that was like kind of like the main update, I would say. What I was planning on doing during the stream is work a little bit, like I said, with where is it? Kind of a good section of sculpted terrain. Work out with this um, the updated terrain material to to try and see how these kind of cliffs made out of literally the terrain work in the main map. So let's go to that. Where is it? Persistent. There we go. And we'll test that out because, like I said, I wanted to use the cliffs, but I also wanted to rely on the terrain itself. I don't want to just have that many actors, which it shouldn't be too bad. But I do like trying out this addition to the terrain material where there's like a cliff happening here. And I've tried to do a little bit of sculpting in my persistent map. And let's see how that looks. I mean, right now here, pretty okay. I'm kind of okay with this, and then um, since the trees are not going to be able to spawn on that, and they're going to spawn on different slopes, it also adds to that kind of verticality, and I think it works out okay. Yes. So where did I do a little bit of a trial and error? Yeah, so somewhere around here. Like I think this works out pretty decent. Like you have a piece of kind of the rock over here, and then the cliff kind of going on around here. And then when it comes to actually the terrain itself, yeah, sculpting it turns into this. So I think overall it's not too bad. It seems to blend in with the rest of the actual meshes pretty decent. And the main thing with this is um, that it's going to block the player from going over it. So if you sculpt it enough, it's going to have enough of a slope that the player can't walk on top of it. And the other thing is, like I was saying, spawning the trees also helps a little bit because I could do away without having to use this as many of these IA scatter um, that I'm using, which they're great, but I would want to have the all these be like the vegetation instance foliage. So yeah, okay. Yeah, there's like a little bit more of a close-up over here. So I think from this to this, let's actually put in place the player in the world and kind of go use that to navigate around a little bit. Where was it? I know it was somewhere around here. That start. Start. Where is it? Play, not player start. Player start. I should label these to know a little bit better. There we go. At least that was quick. All right, so let's bring this guy over to the corner here and try it out. All right, so right off the bat, actually that when you're like in game mode, I think it looks even better because you can't really um I think if you're like at a higher higher level a little bit, you can probably tell it a little bit better that it might not look as good, but at ground level, I think it actually works out pretty good. And yeah, so this is the main thing, like uh, the player can still climb, and it probably like the climbing is maybe set a little too high, but um, even though you could potentially get here, it's gonna be limited in the end by all those cliffs. But having this transition area is what I would call it. I think works out pretty decent. And of course, right now the player has quite a high um, angle um, of navigation, so it it can go some pretty steep slopes. Like here is where I would like him to be, not be able to climb any further. But yeah, so it can still go up those inclines. So let me show you how it actually looks once you start painting this. And let's see, what do we want to start with? Somewhere maybe around here. The only thing with the ice scatter, because I would still like to use these cliffs, is that since they spawn on the terrain, um, I want to see how they're gonna behave. So let's start around here, and let me show you how the sculpting happens. So with the sculpt here, I'm just gonna select pattern brush, and I was able to find, like I said, a few of these landscape kind of alpha brushes, and they look kind of like this. It's like a little height map type thing with maybe better options probably are out there. But for now, this one, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bump up the tool strength because I just wanted to apply this stamp once, twice at the most because it might get a little bit too um, I don't want it to be like a complete vertical wall, like a just a straight up wall, like these cliffs would be. These are fine, because it's a cliff, but like a slope, like a rocky slope like this, where it's going to be like some areas that have like grass and maybe even some trees. I don't want it to be too blown out. Okay, so the one thing that I need to do here is the sculpting. Let's see, there's a little bit of a change that I need to do, and I'm always kind of going back and digging at this because this like circular brush would turn into like a square, and I would be able to see that little texture there. And I've always had a little bit of a hard time getting that to happen again. Let's try it. Let me try selecting this again. Oh, there we go. Actually, I think it's like back into this alpha brush and not the pattern brush. I guess there's a difference between them. So, but with the alpha brush, what I can do now is let's actually bump this up to maybe 3. So when I stamp this down, you see that the terrain just starts sculpting, and that actually looks pretty good, right? Um, and of course, when you start sculpting, especially since I use um, the procedural foliage tool to place things around. What I want to do is right on top of these ridges, I want to paint the layer that has my trees on it. So it's going to go right around here. And now if we try to resimulate, let's see if I grab the right one. Trees, foliage, I believe it's this one. So let's try and resimulate this. And what I'm hoping for is that these slopes are going to get, like wherever there's there's the cliff's surface to clear the vegetation, and then hopefully on these little points here, probably more around here. Not sure if this one's going to be enough with the current density that I have to spawn some trees. Let's try and do that. There, just like that. So now I have this little rocky outcrop, whatever might you might want to call it, where there's some trees on top, and kind of some trees at the bottom, like around here as well. Um, I might also paint some of this. Kind of forgot, so let's paint some mulch around here. And the nice thing is that since this is based on like the kind of I can quickly show you how this is before going in and doing it, since I'm just bringing this up. Let's take a look at how this particular uh, height of not height, but um, this little slope is set up. So basically, I have this. I believe it comes with Unreal. Since I have quite a few packages that I'm using, I'm still not entirely sure if this is something custom. But let's go into it real quick. And so yeah, it's a pretty kind of complex material. But as you can see, there's like an input material attributes for the base, and then one for the top. And then it just lerps between all of them based on this alpha input. So if you think about it, let's go back in here. So you're going to have a base material and a top material. So in my case, the base is the slope, and then the top is all the other layers that you might have in your material. In my case, I have these three that come with that Nordic conifer biome. And using a height lerp for the alpha, which basically tells it how to blend. If you remember, we were looking at this, and there's all these lerp nodes, which apparently some of them are not even being used. So which kind of leads me to believe might not necessarily be kind of a built-in with Unreal type of material function. But as you can see, you can pretty easily, build it from scratch. You just have um, the input base. This is like just an input scalar. I believe it's just what's the node for this? I think if you just look for input, just a function input, and in this case, it's a material attributes. That's kind of how you create one of those. Um, so, and then you just kind of just lerp between these two layers, and you got an output for displacement, which I don't believe I use, and one for the material, which is the blended material. And basically the blended material is between your top material, which is, your starter landscape material, and the base. Hey, talk to the hoof. Hello. I'm usually more of a lurker in streams, but I have to say it's always thank you so much. Yeah, and my pleasure to have you on. That's always good. And like I said, hopefully me talking through this, and maybe if people, some people I know listen and or just play it in the background, but if hopefully it's useful for some folks. I actually did a tutorial a while back on setting up the cliff, but this is a much better way to do it. Okay, yeah. So as I was saying, the let's this is kind of how this material is set up through material functions. But let's take a look at one of them, and namely this layer slope rock, because this one has a few things going on, and maybe the one of the more important ones is this text coordinate distance blend. And so this one, if we take a look, this one has kind of like the more important aspect in it is this absolute world position. And let me just kind of zoom out a little bit. So if you want to, pause the video and, create one of these material functions yourself, you can do that. So it has this absolute world position and the camera position and with a distance between them. Basically what that does is in the world, you can set a different tile for when the camera is up close or at distance. So here or here, right? So if I was to zoom in, let's see if we can get it to the point where you can actually notice the transition. Yeah, there you go. This is kind of like the point where the transition happens. So as you can see, if I zoom in, actually, let's try and move a little slower. So right at this point, you can see that the tiling changes for like an up close look where when the player is up close to the cliff. And then once you zoom out, as you zoom out, sorry, you can see that it changes to a lower tiling. So that way, it doesn't look that tiled when you're far away. The reason that I'm not using it for the terrain is that or the rest of the surfaces is one. Um, this is a pretty relatively flat surface. These are always going to be kind of slopey and like going up. So you might want to have something for the player to not view this as with a really high tile. And that's one of the reasons that I also added that in. So yeah, as you can see, once you're getting farther, the tile kind of goes down, right? And that's what these two actually do. As you can see, this is the output for blend distance. And yeah. So if we go back in here, um, as you can see, there's um, there's a way to set the distance that you're going to blend at and what that tile is going to be. So the tile near and the tile far. And these are just for tiling. You don't really need these to actually make where was I here? To actually make the height lerp sorry, the height lerp happen. That is just something that I wanted to have. I've done it previously, and I had to dig through some of the resources that I had uh, to actually figure out how to do it again because I'm kind of, I wanted to try this out, and I feel that it works out pretty good. So now if I was to in here like try to blend in a cliff, right? Like an actual mesh. Let's see how that would look because that could work really well to really limit the player from climbing, and in that case, let's actually take a look at this cliff here and kind of how much um, of a climber the player is. So let me try and kind of get close to this area here. And yeah, see at this angle, the player you could still if there was somebody that really wanted to, okay, you know what, I'm gonna because I did the same thing you know, in Far Cry 5. Even though the map is it's actually huge compared to what I have. I did go all the way to the edge, and they do have this system where they just tell you, okay, you're gonna get placed, teleported back or something like that, or you're going out of the area map. They have that kind of notification. But so I'm hoping that I can just like limit the player from going, from climbing up these once they reach the edge of the map. And so yeah, I was saying that I want to try and see how the like a kind of a cliff type mesh would work against this rock. And I do have, I've kind of moved all these rock, uh, all these rock cliffs to have the same base color and normal as as this, or actually maybe the other way around. Like I've used I've changed the cliff, this this slope rock material function to well, in my in here, kind of the slope base, to use this cracked mossy rock albedo that is also used by all these cliff type meshes. So let me grab one that's a little bit less complex. I think I was using some. Oh, and actually, look at that. I forgot that when I applied this, it also I didn't check the rest of the level. I just went in one corner. Okay, I'm gonna do some sculpting. But I didn't realize that, okay, this is applied in other places as well. And actually, I'm actually liking it. And as you can see, this cliff here has the same material, and I actually just kind of blew by it. I didn't realize it was there. So yeah, there we go. I guess that kind of explains it. It seems to fit in pretty well with the rest of the world. Let's make sure that this one indeed has that cracked mossy. Yeah, I believe is it the same one? Yeah, I think so. Let's take a quick peek here. Yep, it is the same one. Okay. So this is what I meant, that sometimes not necessarily relying on just placing cliffs everywhere, and also um, having the using the terrain itself to um, to show cliffs. And of course, I'm not using the best sculpting brushes, or the terrain does not have the highest density or like the highest resolution. I think you could even go a little higher. But yeah, having some of this going on around here, I think works out pretty well. And at this point, like this slope does not have. Let's actually try and paint, since I kind of jumped into this area here. I'm going to try and paint some mulch around here and see if we can get some trees to spawn. Hopefully these areas are not too thin, or like to to spawn a tree in. Let's give this a quick shot. So tree foliage. Oh, hey heavens. Yeah, game design is an art. It is always awesome. Like I love, for example, like the level design in Days Gone, or in Far Cry 5. I mean, like I said, those are the types of worlds that I like building, or attempt to build. Emphasis on attempt. Um, and But yeah, those layouts are really nice the way they do it. Hey, Helion, no worry, no worry. We're all here. Welcome. Yeah, Far Cry 5, and like I said, I've really enjoyed that game, like a lot. All right, so there we go. Adding some of these to break things up, with the trees definitely helps in my view. So yeah, and kind of these meshes blended in with the rest of the terrain, um, I think also helps. I would maybe want to see these somewhere at the bottom, maybe like so. And this one, I think I was playing around with some of this material, and I did add some moss along here, which I might just get rid of. But yeah, something like this. This is what I'm hoping for. As far as having some of these slopes be rocky, and blending in some of these meshes with them. So right around here, I have an idea of what I could potentially use. And of course, the reason that I had these, let me close some of these other ones. Close tabs to the right. Yeah, no, I was just opening it. I didn't make any changes. Why do you want me to save it? And one of the things that that this material also can that the what I was showing you was able to do is kind of um, the height and the height max and min for the slope. And there's also, I believe I had one, so this is the distance, to only blend at a certain angle, right? So if the slope is not as strong, like for example, I might want to have this area here, it's not that much of an angle, so I might just want to have some grass around here instead of the rock slopes, which, now that I'm looking at it, wow, it actually doesn't look too bad. Um, and let's see which one is that's just a contrast. There we go. So this particular variable here, I have so many, sometimes it's kind of a pain working by yourself because there's so many things to think about and you kind of forget what some of these variables do. But for example, I have this blend contrast, slope blend contrast, which is might not be the best name for this. But what that can do is, stuff like this, where, before this one um, had a rock material showing. Now I can just try and control it so it doesn't. Let's see, where was that? Well, actually, not the. Sorry, my bad. Not the slope contrast, but the height max and the height min. Let's try and adjust these. There we go. So I was just working with this height max and height min. And if you remember, those variables were in, let's see, where did we have those? Right here. So it's based on, it's literally in this height lerp. And again, like I said, it doesn't matter what you have in the layer slope, the layer slope rock. Like I said, this one had my that little function to adjust the tiling, whether you're like close or far away. And um, that's why it adjusts. You can adjust this height texture basically. Oh heavens, yeah, a ton of notes, and I do the same thing. I don't usually. I'm actually kind of with the materials. I don't do it as much because I I don't touch on materials uh, a whole lot. So um, yeah, I'm don't that's the thing. I don't really. I haven't made it a habit to put in that many notes in the materials. I guess unfortunately, but yeah. Anyway, so yeah, there we go. So having this, being able to adjust that, and you can see kind of push down some things around here. So I still have the slope be as the kind of the cliff, but it's not as strong as it was before. So being able to adjust that also works out pretty well. Like around here, for example, could be a really good example. Um, kind of this slope going into that picnic area and having this edge be rocky, which could be potentially adjusted a little bit better so it's not that much. But here is where I was trying to oh, and actually this is a really good example here. Like this is terrain and this is the rock, or like yeah, not the rock, but the a cliff mesh. So here is that, and here's the terrain. So having that, I think actually that turned out pretty good. So I think these seem to mesh pretty well together. This particular texture with between the landscape and the meshes themselves. So for example, I was gonna use one of these. Um, this is just a pretty flat mesh, but it is a mesh. So I wanted to use one of these to actually use it to limit the player from climbing or from like going up that slope. And let's try and see how this one might fit in. Yeah, so actually that they they blend in pretty well with the terrain. And again, another part of the blending is the normal. You know, like I've tried to set the, especially for this rock surface, I've tried to bump up the normal quite a bit. And you know, let's see where that is. Like I've set it to 2. Don't want to go too much over that, but right now the blending between this rock and the terrain seems to work out pretty decent. Now, the other thing with this material that I have is, let's see, where's the material? I'm gonna try and use, though it might not work out so well, I'm gonna try and turn on, oh, and this is probably not the best rock, but I'm gonna try and turn on um, the runtime virtual textures. Hey, JKK Systems. Well, this is not Unity, unfortunately. This is Unreal. So I'm really sorry, but I can't really give you any help with Unity. But you're welcome to watch Unreal as well. It's just another tool. Yeah, so what I was saying was I'm gonna see if I can blend this in. If you remember, like I had those runtime virtual textures, and basically what those do is, do I have it on one of these? I know I've applied it to a few of the materials, but I don't think this one's the right one to go with. Because if you remember, there's also the bunker area that has its own landscape. So I'm using 2 separate parent materials for the runtime virtual textures. So that one is, let's see, I believe I might have it enable for these little guys here. This kind of like this fall off rock, at least if I recall correctly. Let me take a quick look. And yes, it has blend with environment turned on. So what that does is, let's see, can we raise this up a little bit? And where are the runtime virtual textures? Sometimes I need to move them around a little bit to sample the terrain again. So let's see, it's this one and this one. Let's try to move them up or down. Let's see, where's the blend? Do they not cover this area? So yeah, the runtime virtual textures need to cover the entire area where your mesh is gonna be. Whoops, I don't want to go there. I want to go around somewhere around here. This is where my thing was. Um, so why doesn't this one get that applied? Let's take a quick look. All right, so I got this master regular with exterior blend because these have to sample the different runtime virtual textures in order to do the blending. Let me try and adjust this blend distance and blend power, just pulling this off to the side. All right, so let's take a look. Hey, Rolla. Yeah, it is. Definitely is. Uh, I'm looking forward to 5.2 and seeing hopefully there's some stuff that I'm kind of hoping for some fixes. Well, you know, on one hand, I'm hoping that due to the kind of mosh pit of of a project that I have, there's so many things in it that some of the issues that I'm running into, it's not due to my own doing, but we'll see. Okay, so there we go. This is what I was saying about kind of the blending with the terrain that you can, depending on what the sample is underneath, you can get some of these results, for especially for these meshes that are on the ground, right? So as you can see, like focus on, let's see, we can focus on this area here, right? And so using, and I'm gonna turn pixel depth offset off. So now if I was to adjust the blend bias, you can see that it just samples what's underneath, like the terrain, for the terrain material, and it just blends it in like that. So let's kind of lift the mesh a little higher up. So this is the mesh itself. If I was to kind of just sink it into the terrain, just by approaching it, depending on that distance, it samples the terrain and helps with that blending. There it is. All right, so maybe I'm just going to turn it down a little bit because it's a little too much. So probably somewhere around there. There we go. Um, yeah, so I wanted to try doing the same thing um, in for these meshes that kind of uh, that I'm going to use to help with the cliff with the terrain cliff area with that blending. Oh, sorry about that, Rolla. Uh, Unfortunately, I don't really know much about Telus or Roger Internet, but if it works better, then more power to you. That's excellent. All right. Well, so let me try and kind of use. Let's see. Can we do it for this guy? So this is one of the original materials that come with this bunker package that I, kept some of the materials. I have yet to replace them, but let's see, what am I using for one of these cliff meshes here? So this particular one is using, okay, so this master with detail. That's a bummer. I might have to do a little bit too much work, and I think I'm just overthinking it. The only problem um, with this runtime virtual textures is it, at least in my attempt to do it, it doesn't work so well on vertical surfaces. So this one would have to be kind of placed at an angle, and I think past that point it just kind of loses its purpose anyways, because like I said, I wanted to use it so that the player can't climb on on off the edge of the map, right? That's the main thing about it. But having this one here, it seems to blend in with the rest of, having the mesh and then the terrain here. It seems to blend in pretty well, even though with like, a little bit of a harder line there, if noticeable. But I've seen that in Far Cry 5 as well. So I'm not necessarily that overly concerned with it. What I could do is in this particular material, and since I don't really need, this is kind of, I believe this is a paint, this is a material that has a vertex paint layer to it. Um, and it's overly complicated. So you know what I might do is, let's try that out. I'm gonna try and use the same material that this mesh has. Let's actually try and kind of bring this one in here as well and see how it looks. I do like this particular mesh from Quixel because it does have a kind of a this top here. This one doesn't there's not so much around here. Definitely like a kind of a cave type mesh. you can't really place it so that it's also kind of links into the terrain. Let's see if I'm just going to move this to the side real quick and try to make this maybe 2. Yeah, it's kind of nice not having to rely on the Quixel um, textures that come with these, and actually just using the normal for the detail, and then you can just set its your own textures for the base. All right, let's take a look at the material. So as I was saying, just having the base color set to something like in this case the terrain slope, and then just relying on the detail normal for the real just the details on it. So right now, if I was to turn that off, you'll see that it still looks good, but a little, a little bland, like with or without. Having that detail, I think, helps. And what that gives you is you can use the same texture across multiple meshes, and it's easier that way to have everything kind of look consistent. Hey, Omiyaki, where's the character? Oh, the character, if you want to see it, I can just jump into game mode here. And while the levels load, so it's this guy here. Um, and of course, right now I can switch to third person, but the game is going to be a first person. Right now, I don't have anything to pick up around here, especially in this level, to show you some of the combat. If you're interested, let me know. I can quickly just move this to a different area in the world, and we can take down a couple of the enemies. Oh yeah, Rolla. So I haven't used a lot of stuff lately from Quixel either. But mostly for when it comes to textures and stuff, I definitely rely on the Quixel bridge, which is very useful to have, I think. All right, so let's adjust this a little bit to just kind of bring the, the base color close to where this is. Yeah, so right now it's kind of hard to tell unless you're really up close to see um, where this one kind of ends and the actual terrain begins, right? Yeah, Omiyaki, it is a first person game, if that's what you're asking. Yep. All right, so let's see, can we also use this one? I know I have a couple of other ones that might work a little bit better here. There we go, kind of like this. So placing it like that will definitely, like the player is definitely not going to be able to climb that. And that's what I was thinking of doing on the other side of the map where some of this is happening. Like we were just looking at this area here, right? So being able to place one of these meshes, especially in the parts of the slope where they're a little bit, it's not so um, the angle is not that big. Like somewhere like around there, for example, should help with stopping the player from like kind of climbing up and testing the edge of the map. That's what I meant. Something like that. And with that, the player won't be able to get past it, but at the same time, we'll still see like the cliff behind it and um, all the way there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so Miyaki, that's currently the setting that I have. I'm still debating on whether to make it a little bit brighter. So let's take a quick look at that. I'll just jump into here and show you if I make this a little bit brighter. It's also very much like right now. I have like the sun coming through my window, and it also the shadows seem darker than when I close the blinds. But yeah, if I was to change this to let's see, where's the daytime skylight? I actually had it before to here. So yeah, it's just a matter of adjusting the brightness on somebody's, computer if things are too dark. Okay, so that was a couple of some of the other update. Like I was saying, this is what I hope to use around here to limit. As you know, we were looking last week. I have these volumes to limit the player from, kind of swimming too far. But the one thing that we were looking at is that, well, if it goes on the water, it sees they're able to see the edge of the map, and that's something that I don't want to happen. So let's try and adjust the terrain, especially in these areas where kind of these like lakes would be at, because that way it's not the entire map is not surrounded by cliffs, right? So it gives you the idea that there's something past it. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, so Miyaki, that's the plan. I don't have that in place at the moment, but currently this water volume, whenever you're in it, it does have some particle effects happening. Once you swim, when you're swimming, it doesn't have, and indeed, it doesn't have the little what do you call it? Kind of the wave around you. So that's just a little bit of an extra particle that I have to add. Okay, so what I wanted to do is manage, and you can add sections to the terrain. So let's add one here. Let's see, where can we add it? So I would think that you should be able to add another piece around here, or is it not possible? Okay, that's interesting because I tried it earlier, and I was kind of thinking, like, I tried it in my test level and I was able to add sections to this, but not sure why this one doesn't like it. So that's interesting. Anyways, so I might need to fake this a little bit differently over here. One thing that I'm thinking of is this particular like Icelandic terrain from Quixel is a pretty decent mesh, and I could use this for to place it underwater. I don't think it should harm anything. So let's take a look and see how that might play in. All right, so if I was to use this one, and since you're not going to be able to swim too far anyways, and this is going to be underwater, the details are not going to be that fantastic. Let's see, I think that's a little big. So maybe at 5. Yeah, so Miyake, this is kind of how it looks underwater for the oh, that actually is a pretty big mesh, even still at 5. Maybe what I'll do is I'll try and move this island a little farther inland, so that way you don't get to go too far to begin with. I did not expect this mesh to be that big. I mean, I know it's sort of big to begin with, but still. And I'll try and look at why the um, I can't expand past the since this terrain is like 2K by 2K. I'll take a look and see why I can't expand past its limits, like add to it. Not entirely sure why that might be, but yeah. So see, this one actually I think works out pretty well to limit the view underneath the water. So there's that. You can only see the edge of the mountains out there, and then underneath the water, you can't see under the map, which is good. And I guess this particular mesh looks pretty decent as like I kept on thinking what to do with the bottom of the water. You know, so something like this does seem to work out pretty well with the water or like the lake bed, right? That's what the name of it would be, the lake bed. Yeah, that could work. You know, something like that to help with the transition into this kind of rocky outcrops in the water. All right, I think that works out pretty good. I might just bring this mesh down a little bit, you know, or set this up like that. Okay, that could work. The only thing is, so you'd be able to swim all the way to here to the edge. I might push these boundaries in a little bit. So once you get past a certain point, that's when you would get teleported back. So maybe somewhere around here, you know, so you wouldn't be able to swim past that. One thing that I need to make sure is that these particular actors are going all the way through the terrain, so you can't swim underneath. All right, so we have that, we have this, and I think that should, yeah, so it goes underneath the terrain. That should block our character from, you know, trying to swim off the map. And then these ones, we can continue adding them in to about there. We can kind of sculpt the terrain since we have this in place. We can also do a little bit of sculpting. And like I was saying, under the alpha brush, I just have this uh, landscape little height map type of terrain, and I'm just gonna try and like sculpt along this edge. Need to make sure. Sometimes it's kind of hard to notice what the angle of it is. So I'm just going to try and like do a little bit of sculpt there. And let's adjust the angle a little bit. Just like that. There we go. And since we're underwater, let's try placing some over there. That's maybe a little too much. I might need to make the brush a little smaller. Hey, 3Die, bienvenue. How are you? All right, so let's see, where do I want to take this one? Maybe let's, like I said, I was going to make this a little smaller. And that's the only thing with making it smaller. It's kind of it's a little bit too intense, right? When it goes like that, I don't want that little thing. Yeah, so I think everybody we're doing good. And Omiyaki, I just saw your message. Yeah, splash of character diving. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna have you know, now that you mention it, that's a great idea because the way the character enters in the level is, this falling out of this airplane, right? And there's three locations where you can fall out of the airplane to start the game. And one of them might be a good idea, thank you so much, to have it over water. And once you fall in the water, it'd be a splash. But other than that, there's no areas where the character would actually jump in the water, or like if you think of Far Cry, right? Far Cry 5 comes to mind. Is out of the helicopter or out of a plane, you can jump and splash in the water. Yeah. All right, let's make this back up to maybe 4,000. Let's see how that'll look. Okay, that could work potentially as the edge of the terrain, I would say. I can see that, I guess. But the other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to also add some of these cliffs to limit this one around here, because you might be able to go over here and kind of you'll still see the edge of the lake, which is fine, going into these mountains, these cliffs. But I don't want you to see like this hard line where the terrain would end. So in that case, I'm just going to try and use one of these massive cliffs to just place it around that corner and maybe make it maybe pretty big. I would want to do it so like that. And since they have the same texture, they blend in pretty decent. The only thing about this particular mesh is I believe the detail itself is not the right one. Let's take a quick look. So this detail normal might not be the same as the massive cliff 2. So Miyaki, it's actually called just like the name of this stream, On Your Own. Thank you for asking. All right, there we go. So we've kind of fixed that little thing there. All right, perfect. Yeah, so the player won't be able to see past these, and then back there, there's like all these kind of these huge meshes. And let's create another one for behind this one and this corner, kind of like that. And we have that spline, which is, let's see, does this one have the trees or is it this one here? I believe it's this one. So let's actually get a little bit more trees on top of these cliffs. Let's see, where is that going? See if we can get some right on top of these guys here as well. All right, we're kind of getting closer to where this is. Something like that. Spear Donkey. Yeah, let's go camping. That's initially that was a thought that I had, like being able to I was kind of thinking of having some like survival elements to it, but yeah, there's so many survival games out there that you know that are really uh that's what they do, it's survival. And I thought, let's not make too much noise for that one. Um, so yeah. All right, there we go. So now we have some trees around there as well. I might need to adjust the scaling of this. Yeah, exactly. I know there's a lot. That's the thing. Um, okay, so now we have that corner created, which I think looks pretty okay. I just need to make sure that this one is not, like um, seen like that. So let's just add one more around here. And since the player is not going to be able to navigate to that point, I think that covers it. There you go. It's all a matter of perspective, right? I have not messed with 5.2. I'm actually waiting for it to come to be fully released to get out of what do you call it? Out of preview, and then I'm just going to upgrade my project to it. So um, that's um, that's the plan. It's just kind of going forward, right? So, Looklin, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my man. It's been a fun project process to get these. Because right now that I'm looking at it, it actually looks so much better to have this slope kind of going up like this, and kind of just go into the cliff itself. It might even work out better than what I thought. So yeah, being able to just kind of sculpt the terrain on this edge. Let's do some more of that and just limit the player from oops, whoa, that's a little too much. And that's what I mentioned, like okay, tool strength high, but if you need to click on it too many times, it might not work out so well. So let's kind of do it like that. There we go. Whoops, too much. Like that, and let's do it kind of behind this. Oops, yeah, again, too much. I don't want it to be like these sharp little, looks like a freaking like a crocodile teeth or like a dinosaur tooth or something, like a shark tooth, right? I don't really want that. Let me bring this down. Maybe let's see what's one can do. All right, there we go. So that blends in with the actual mesh pretty nicely. Oh yeah, Omiyagi, that's what I'm gonna do next. Let's add some trees to this ridge around here. And for that, I'm just gonna go ahead and paint the mulch on the top here. And let's see, I'm hoping that that's enough for the procedural foliage volume to to find some placement for trees around along here. All right, let's see how that works. Spawn some trees. Oh, so Spelunky, sorry, I just saw that. We upgraded to projects to the preview 5.2 and have some issues. Okay. Yeah, that's the one thing that I wanted to do, kind of um I'll wait for it to come out. I'll maybe test a couple of my projects in 5.2, and if they work out well, then okay, I'll move that in as well. Yeah, so there we go. Omiyagi. Uh there it is. Some trees added to the edge. It could be a little bit more actually, to be honest with you. And I'm thinking what I'm gonna do for that is using this little mesh here. Let's uh let's add some trees around here. All right, so maybe to that point. Okay, that should work. Let's lift that up a little bit as well to about there. It's kind of rotated so it doesn't poke through the terrain as much. I wanted to have some trees behind there also. But since the terrain ends, I'm just going to work out with my trusty eye scatter tool. Oh, thank you so much, Palangi. Thank you for the sub. That's one of the things that I don't really, I don't think I've ever done in one of my videos. Like, comment, share, subscribe, like what is it, the typical thing. So, but appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hopefully I'll see you on the next one. So, Heavens, are you talking about the eye scatter or the foliage volume? I think what I'm going to do with the IA scatter, that's exactly what I'm going to do, like what you're saying. I'm just going to kind of move it in and out. Oh, the volume. Oh, okay. Uh, Omiyaki, I'm not sure what face revel means. If you want to translate that a little bit better, um, make it a little bit more clear for those of us. All right, so there we go. Actually having this one, whoa, that turned out pretty nice, I think. All right. So that, like I said, that IA scatter tool is just awesome. It's so useful. Oh, show your face on the camera. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, well, I don't have a, unfortunately, I don't have a webcam. So, and the only thing the reason I don't do that is also because it takes up space on the screen, and I'm not sure if that's gonna help anybody um, with anything, right? But definitely something to think about. Thank you, Omiyagi, for asking. Okay, yeah. So there we go. We have static meshes. We have terrain sculpting here. Trees on top of it, to cover some of it. To help with the kind of the distance, and having these trees up top as well helps with that. Let's see. Maybe we can also. Um, how big is this mesh? Can I add another one so we can have something alongside here? Oh, this is actually this is done with the procedural foliage tools. Um, yeah, and there's some dead trees along here, of course. I do have some dead trees like these ones, That's nature, right? So, um, all right. Well, so I was thinking of I'm just gonna use one of these meshes since they're pretty trusty here to kind of put it at the base of this. Let's see if we can adjust. adjust this a little bit and spawn some trees. There you go, just like that. Nice. And I could actually set it to try and spawn a little bit more, a few more instances. Let's see, try to 50. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so there's like trees on like multiple slope, more multiple like levels, I would say. Um, yeah, so that looks pretty good. I'm quite happy how that turned out, and as well, like over here, um, limiting the player from going past this edge of the map or this area of the map, and once you're in the water, also not being able to see kind of off the map, so to speak. All right, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Let's finish off this edge as well. And let's see, I'm probably gonna try and do the same thing that I did over here. This seems to have worked pretty well. Let's start by doing some terrain sculpting. It's kind of enjoyable doing doing this and have seeing like how the the slope rock is being applied. Like once you start sculpting, let's actually I can get this strength a little higher and kind of having that show up like that. Maybe that's a little too much. Let's also sculpt inland a little bit so that way it doesn't like look like just a complete border. Sculpt in into these kind of this little formation of rocks around here. All right, so let's try and rotate this. Yeah, that'd be nice. But I actually like doing this, so you know, I like the sculpting, doing the sculpting work. Oh, that's too much. Yeah, so there we go. Having that kind of fall into these cliffs works out, I think. That's too much. Let's try and maybe start at a flatter spot around here. I'm just going to try and rotate this brush a little bit to maybe 50, 40, kind of around there. Okay, that works. Nice, there it is. Okay, it's better. All right, there we go. Pretty nice. I'm happy with that. And I'm gonna we'll also paint some of the mulch so we can spawn we can actually spawn the trees on the mulch. And I wanted to actually paint here. So let's paint some mulch at the top here and around here. There we go. One thing to make sure is that I don't go over the foliage volume. Let's resimulate this and hopefully get some trees kind of in these areas around here, hopefully even around here. Not sure if that's going to be probably kind of a tight. Oh, actually, there we go. Some of them spawn there properly. Oh yeah, that's a pretty nice slope. Okay. Let's finish off this kind of edge around here, which is not, from this angle doesn't look too bad. It looks like the terrain itself, but let's add these in there. And I'm actually thinking that I'm just gonna leave them like this. It's gonna be a little bit of a kind of a cave, not a cave in, but just this little entrance there. Well, not entrance. Um, there it is, like that. All right, pretty good. And I am going to add another one of these eye scatter things to just be right on top here. I'm gonna try and place it right up above this ridge. Let's delete some of these points. I don't want those trees all the way over there. Yeah, Omiyagi, thank you. That could be a great idea to make it right around here. I think the trailer is going to involve like the player flying in, and of course um, there's going to be a view of this area, right, as the player flies in and kind of crashes and well, not crash, but like bails, jumps out of the airplane. Okay, well, let's actually do a little bit less instances. I think maybe 20 might be enough, just like that. There. All right, so let's see from this end as well. Seems to be looking okay. Um, just gonna pull this in a little bit. There we go. Let's try and get this one. Right about there. That's pretty good. All right, not too shabby. I'm kind of happy with that. Like if I hide um, the like press G to hide all the gizmos, and you're all the way to about where you can swim in the lake. It doesn't look like there's the edge. Oh, there's one here. I didn't not finish adding these all the way to that edge. So let's do that. I'm just going to continue with these Icelandic meshes, just like that. Hey, Gurkan, welcome, welcome. Let's see this. It pokes through the water, but it looks okay. Let's add another one here, maybe a little bit flatter. Let's try and rotate it a little bit. Kind of like that. Could have another one back behind it. There we go. Could have it kind of poke through the water a little bit. And this is something that I've had in a previous map, and kind of these islands, coming through. And there it is. Let's place that in. All right, that's pretty good. Let's try and place a couple of trees on this little outcropping over here. Kind of like that. So it's just not a little, this little lonely thing sitting out there. Something like that. That looks pretty decent. All right. Well, that actually turned out a lot better than just started with kind of a thought of what I wanted to do here and ended up quite all right. And the main thing is as well, doing these along the edge of the world to not make it look like it just completely stops there. So yeah, so there's bushes. There's like like these types of like little bushes. There's these ones around here. So there's definitely bushes in the world. Yeah, Omiyaki, thank you. Yes. So let's see what else. I think the other thing that we were thinking about doing last week is starting to add some assets around this warehouse area. The inside is pretty well populated. Excuse me, pretty well populated, so that's okay. But I wanted to, add some like, kind of some trash bins and some, trash bags, some, kind of litter type things around here. And for that, I'm also going to use this IA scatter tool because exactly, it's really good. Let's see, where did I have some of those placed? Let's start from here. And this one, let's see, what else can we copy? Is there anything else? We can potentially also add a couple of cars, for like the workers. But let's start with just a little bit of the trash. Yeah, sorry about that. All right, let's move these over to the warehouse level. And I'll make sure that I need to select this. Where is it? Delivery warehouse. Yeah, so a white sphere on the side of the lake. That was where um, the what do you call it? The player would get teleported back if they want to run off the map, right? So, um, oh, I did not want to move those. I wanted to actually copy them. Yeah, so I was showing those boundaries earlier where the player would not be able to swim outside of the world. And what they do is they actually move the player back to that white sphere that I had. And that's just a location for things. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Omiyaki. I'm kind of thinking these trash bags are kind of big. Let's try and scale them down a little bit, or actually the dimensions. 0.7, maybe that could work there. So let's show the spline again. Place a couple of these trash bins around here, kind of like that. And then with this one, 1 second, guys. All right, let's adjust this these trash bags to kind of just place them like along around there. All right. The other thing that I wanted to do is this fence is kind of ginormous. I still need to, hopefully I'll have one in by tomorrow's stream. I'll have a maybe a different fence that's a little bit more kind of, um, you know, has a better scale. I think this one is way too big. All right. Well, I'll have that in. Let's try and adjust these kind of these trash bins like so. And the other thing that I wanted to add around here is some kind of some damaged decals. And again, for that, I'm going to be using the IA scatter tool. And it's this one right here. Let's bring this in. And let's delete some of the points. I don't need all these points that it currently has. Yeah, that's one of the trash bins that I have with the open, but not these ones. But that's a good idea. I might look into that. Thank you, Omiyaki. Omiyaki, by the way, where are you from? Is that Japan? I'm kind of curious about people when people join the stream where people are from. Just kind of move this alongside, like the warehouse area, like this. There we go. So now we also have some decals around here with some like, like the concrete damage. Oh, India. Okay, welcome, welcome. Let's try and place these a little bit on kind of the same level just to keep control them a little bit better. All right. And maybe that's a little too many. Let's maybe bring it down to 30, 20. That's good. Okay. So there's some decal damages on the ground as well. Just somewhat randomly placed. There we go. All right. The other thing that I've added was that I made use of this IA scatter tool, this kind of grass growing alongside the edge. Oh yeah, that's a great point. Thank you so much for reminding me. I did add some tire like around here where the entrance to the to each one of the bays would be at. But let's add some right here at the entrance. And I need to fix this as well because it's not coming all the way to the concrete parking lot. But some would have to be like right around where these trucks are. And I'm just gonna turn off decals so they don't receive decals. So this one could be right around here like that. And they could also join into here like so. And this one's the perfect decal for like exiting out of this. Let's see, how do I want to place this? Like that. Okay. That could work maybe. There we go. Okay. That kind of can blend coming together with this one. Let's do, since I can't select it that easily, let's do it like that. There. Okay, that works all right-ish. I'm going to try and, as best as I can, sculpt this terrain um, around here at this entrance. I'm trying to get them as close as possible. Um, let's do a really low. Okay, getting closer, closer. That's probably as good as it's gonna be. Might just work out, I think, over there. Yeah, that's good enough. Too much, too much, too much. Okay, there it is. And just to help with the transition, I'm gonna use one of these little decals here. I think that's gonna work out pretty well. Whoopsie, too much. All right, kind of like that. Just help a little bit with the transition between that um, the terrain and in this area. And also let's fix this since we're here. Let's flatten it out kind of to about there. And actually, I'm just going to go through and flatten all this edge. So I got a kind of the same point of start. And I'm going to try and easily kind of just bring it up to a point. Yeah, I do like details as well, because I mean, oh, sorry, decals. Thank you, Gurkhan. Yeah, they're definitely awesome tools. All right, it's getting closer. On the other hand, I am going to do something else, uh, something that might help a lot more. And that would be, let's just sculpt this down here. Um, Decals are not great for performance. That's why, um, kind of tread carefully. And I'm trying to manage them. I think there is like a way to, not sure if this one has it. Like there's this fade screen size. I believe past that it doesn't get rendered. And depending on your needs, you can like bump this up or keep it low. So I'm trying to adjust these values as well as I move forward. But what I'm gonna do, and also culling exactly, though, I'm not entirely sure if a decal is considered in a cull volume. I'd have to look into that, but that's a great thought. I'll do some research on it. I think I was thinking about it a while back, but it it didn't cross my mind. So I'm gonna try and use this. This kind of like a little bit of a mesh might work out a little bit better for the transition. Oh, some moss. Yeah. Well, so there is the moss on the terrain. I'm not gonna add anything else besides what's with the terrain there. There we go. I think that works a little bit better to address that transition. Then trying to sculpt the terrain to kind of meet it where it is. Yeah, so now I can sculpt it up just a little bit, not too much, but at least having that mesh in there, I think helps quite a bit. A little bit less maybe. There we go. I think that works. The transition seems to look a little bit better having those meshes in there. All right. Well, cool. So we started adding some of the stuff around here. What I'll do before the stream tomorrow, um, I I'm gonna try and get a better fencing for this, and also try and fix the way the weapons are. And actually, let's if some of the new folks are still watching, let's do a little bit of like Omiyaki. You probably haven't seen this, but I can show it to you. Like how some of the weapons work against the enemies. Let's see, player start. Where is that one? Okay, it's right there. So let me bring this into here. Oh, thank you, Heavens. Yeah, I do like that. I've been a little bit of a trying to get that as best as I can. And of course, it's definitely not, this area is definitely not ready, but just adding, something to start off, and then I can just expand some of these assets. Yeah, so let's do kind of adding a bow, something they actually can pick up, because that's how this is going to work. All right, so first what I wanted to see is if the enemies have spawned. Okay, so they're there. Let's get the bow. Let's equip the bow. Actually, it's 3. Let's see what this guy might be at. There we go. Let's see where the other one is. Actually, let's make this full screen. I'm gonna try and minimize some of these because I got a ton of tabs open. So that could probably impact performance quite a bit. What's that guy doing all the way over there? Whoops. There he goes. All right, yeah, so having actually, now that I'm looking at this up close, having this grass along the edge looks pretty decent. I'm quite happy with that. Okay, well, so on that note, um, I'm gonna end the stream here. So thank you everybody so much for stopping by. I hope to see you on the next one. And like I said, I'm hoping to do one tomorrow. It depends on the weather. It's always good to get out sometimes. But yeah, thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope to see you on the next one. All right, take care, everybody.